The number of homeless children has continued to surge in England, official government figures show, as the Labour government is urged to boost housing benefit to help families afford the cost of renting. A total of 169,050 children were living in temporary accommodation in England as of March this year, while the number of households in temporary housing has risen almost 12% in the last year to 131,140. Both are the latest record highs. Overall, the number of households approaching their local council for homelessness assistance and requiring support dropped between January and March 2025. The 83,450 households who contacted local authorities in the period represented a 6% fall on the same quarter last year, but homelessness remains at crisis point in England and is costing councils a significant sum. Homelessness charities responded to the government figures, published on Tuesday, 22nd July, with a call to unfreeze local housing allowance rates and to publish a homelessness strategy to break the cycle and move towards prevention. Labour is set to publish its long-term homelessness strategy later this year. Rick Henderson, CEO at Homeless Link, the membership body for homelessness services, said, "It is terrifying to see ever higher numbers of people pushed into homelessness and families condemned to live in unsuitable temporary accommodation with no end in sight. The system is simply firefighting and at colossal public cost. Large-scale changes are needed to break this vicious cycle, and we urge the government to use its forthcoming homelessness strategy to achieve this. Vitally, it must shift the focus to prevention, establishing cross-government responsibility to ensure that people receive early support to remain in their homes." The number of households living in temporary accommodation has surged in recent years, rising above 100,000 in December 2022 and surging to 131,140 just over 2 years later. Meanwhile, the number of children living in temporary accommodation is now double the level seen when Labour was last in government, according to Joseph Rowntree Foundation, JRF analysis. The number of households living in emergency accommodation, like B&Bs and hostels, is now 22,700, Shelter said. This has doubled in the last decade, from 10,310 in 2015, but there has been a steep fall in the number of households with children living in B&B accommodation in the last year. A total of 3,870 households with children were B&Bs, down 30% when compared to March 2024. The legal limit for families with children living in B&Bs is 6 weeks. A total of 2,300 households breached that limit, also down 28% annually. Labour has launched a £5 million emergency reduction pilot. The number of homeless children has continued to surge in England, official government figures show. As the Labour government is urged to boost housing, the number of households living in emergency accommodation, like B&Bs and hostels, is now 22,700, Shelter said. This has doubled in the last decade, from 10,310 in 2015. But there has been a steep fall in the number of households with children living in B&B accommodation in the last year. A total of 3,870 households with children were B&Bs, down 30% when compared to March 2024. The legal limit for families with children living in B&Bs is 6 weeks. A total of 2,300 households breached that limit, also down 28% annually. Labour has launched a £5 million emergency reduction pilot, working with 20 local councils with the highest use of B&B accommodation to reduce the use of the emergency accommodation. The government also pledged to invest £39 billion in building affordable and social housing over the next decade at the recent spending review in a bid to tackle homelessness. Working with 20 local councils with the highest use of B&B accommodation to reduce the use of the emergency accommodation. The government also pledged to invest £39 billion in building affordable and social housing over the next decade at the recent spending review in a bid to tackle homelessness. The number of people who are homeless in the east of England has increased by 20% in the last 12 months, according to the charity Shelter. According to its annual check, about 24,000 people were homeless in the region, 11,500 of whom were children. Luton in Bedford and Basildon in Essex top the areas in eastern England for homeless numbers, measured by council district. In Luton, the rate of homelessness was found to be 1 in every 57 people, compared to East Cambridgeshire, which had the lowest recorded figures in the region of 1 in every 2,741. Basildon was second highest, with the rate of homelessness standing at 1 every 94, while Bedford's tally was 1 in every 103rd. Peterborough was ninth in the tables, with 1 in every 230 people without a home or living in temporary accommodation. In Norfolk's districts, Great Yarmouth saw the highest numbers of homeless people in the county, with 1 in every 542, with Norwich having the lowest at 1 in 1,674. In Suffolk, the district with the highest number was East Suffolk, with 1 in 624 people homeless. Ipswich was 1 in 767, while West Suffolk had the lowest figure at 1 in 1,001. Shelter's analysis of official homelessness figures and responses to Freedom of Information requests saw 337 people sleeping rough in the region on any given night, a rise of 18% compared with 2023. Southend-on-Sea saw the highest figure, with 35 people living on the streets on any given night in 2024. The homeless charity pointed to record private rents combined with inadequate housing benefit, rising evictions, and a lack of genuinely affordable social homes as behind the causes of homelessness. Families who become homeless are usually placed in temporary accommodation by their local council, but the charity found often this accommodation is far from temporary, as the government's own data showed that 1 in 5, 22%, of families in the east of England have been there for over 2 years. The charity believed numbers could be higher as some types of homelessness, such as sofa surfing, go unrecorded. Leslie Burdett, the Norwich service lead at Shelter, said, "It's unimaginable that almost 24,000 people in the east of England will spend this winter homeless, many of them forced to shiver on the wet streets or in a moldy hostel room with their entire family." Across the east of England, extortionate private rents combined with a dire lack of genuinely affordable social homes is trapping more and more people in homelessness. She called upon the government to urgently build much-needed social homes. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government said, "These figures are shocking and they show the devastating reality of the homelessness crisis which we have inherited." The ministry said it had committed £1 billion funding to support homelessness services and would be building the social and affordable homes we need as part of our plan for change. Other measures include establishing a new interministerial group dedicated to tackling the root causes of homelessness. New research from Shelter shows at least 354,000 people in England, including 161,500 children, will spend Christmas without a home, a shocking increase of 14%, 44,500 people, in 1 year. Shelter's detailed analysis of official homelessness figures and responses to Freedom of Information requests reveals that 1 in 160 people in England are now homeless. This is up from 1 in 1822, owing to a sharp rise in people sleeping rough and families trapped in temporary accommodation. The research shows 326,000 people are in temporary accommodation, 17% increase in 1 year, most of whom are in families with children.